Since PirateSoftware got exposed for being an absolute a-hole, I have been looking into him a little bit. And I have to say, everything that I'm seeing on his YouTube channel is very strange. I don't understand how this person actually unironically made it big, except if it was Night Media's involvement, but that's a different story. The best I can honestly say about PirateSoftware is that he's almost barely likable as a person. There's kind of a little bit of that, I guess, but most of the time, he's just pompous and extremely arrogant about everything that he says. I've been checking his YouTube channel, and whoever is editing this stuff, my god, they deserve a raise. Because the only types of videos that you see about him online that he posts are videos where he's pretty much only exclusively talking about things that cannot be confirmed true or false or whatever like that. He's just talking about some basic truths like good is good, bad is bad. Honestly, almost like the Asmongold of old. And it's really strange. And I came across this video of Concord where he finally actually talks about things that don't actually, are not open to interpretation. And well, I have seen just the first 15 seconds, and all of it is already wrong. So this is a miracle. How did people not actually catch up to this guy just seemingly not knowing anything about anything that he talks about is insane. And especially considering that he's technically like a tech YouTuber or something like that, because this is a lot of what he does. And coding is a specific skill set. It's not just something it is a specialized skill set, as you would call it. I know the word specialized is doing a lot of lifting here, but still, people should be able to call him out on the fact that pretty much everyone with a coding experience who is good at coding is calling this guy shit. But no one seems to call him out on general. So what does that say about the average coder? That people who like this sort of thing look at what he does and they think he's doing good. That is insane. Anyway, let's get into this.
Biggest problem that I'm seeing with Concord, and I think this is kind of sad, is there's a bunch of people making like really overblown claims about why it died. But like, if we go and look at the game itself and we look at like what happened here, you had a video game that was not marketed really at all. Most people didn't even know it existed. They had no idea. The amount of cost that was spent on it was enormous. Like they spent a shitload of money on this, and it didn't land right with the players when it came out. And that's
He's talking so confidently about something that is so unbelievably provable wrong. So, first of all, Concord actually costed up to 400 million, considering Sony acquired the company that was making it. And a budget of 100 million to 200 million for just the game is not actually that much for a AAA game. This is on the lower side of things, by the way, believe it or not. So he's fundamentally just flat out wrong right there. Your typical AAA game currently costs roughly 300 million, up to 400 million if it's really big. And this is not involving marketing costs. And this guy is just saying that Concord had no marketing. Bro, Concord had one of their biggest marketing campaigns. Concord had multiple launch trailers, multiple cinematic trailers. There was a plan to make an episodic thing for Concord in a kind of, was it anime style? In some kind of, animation style to tell its story, introduce you to its characters and shit. The Concord had a massive budget because of that, all of that. Because all of that is marketing, by the way. So yeah, Concord did not lack for marketing in the slightest. This guy's just spewing random bullshit that he typically hears probably about other people saying, oh, this game didn't succeed because it didn't have marketing. Guess who else didn't have marketing? Baldur's Gate 3. Guess who else didn't have marketing? Space Marine 2, baby. Guess who else didn't have marketing? Technically, Helldivers 2 didn't have a lot of marketing. It had some, but not a lot. Guess who else didn't have marketing? Palworld. Oh yeah, marketing has nothing to do with the success of a game. If a game is good, people will come. especially if it's a AAA release by a big publisher, big company, or whatever. So, Pirate Software is effectively just parroting in a very bad way because he doesn't understand the meaning of what he is even parroting here about people who talk about games in general. Because as much as I understand this guy, while he has technically made a game, doesn't really understand shit about games.
Really all that happened. They're refunding everybody too. Yeah, this is no longer available on the Steam store, PlayStation Network account required. The thing that's really interesting is this doesn't look shit on the outset. It looks like it might be fun. It's kind of like fast-paced and weird, but like people didn't like it. They said it wasn't fun. Yeah, they basically made
Yeah, because it's objectively bad.
$0. It had like 100 average players for a game that costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Like imagine Overwatch launching to 198 people peak. That's basically what happened here, dude. There had to be something wrong with it mechanically.
He legitimately called it that he's comparing it the same with Overwatch. Like, this guy sees no difference between the gameplay of Overwatch and Concord. He's probably unironically he probably doesn't understand why Marvel Rivals is even doing good currently.
And the reason why I say that is if people drag it online, it will likely bring a lot more people to go and look at it. People will at least look at it. And if they go, wait a minute, this doesn't suck, then they'll play it. But in this case, they didn't like it all. This is probably...
Yeah, because the game is slow. Even movement speed is slow. It has like a billion problems.
The most catastrophic failure we've ever seen. Character design was very ugly. I think that's always going to be subjective. I don't think that's... It's easy to say something like that, be like, the character design is ugly. It's like, no, you think the character design is ugly. You didn't like it for you. There's something...
No. Again, he's talking so confidently. Subjective and objective is something that we can ignore here. Because this is not like, this is not a situation where it's like a physical property of the realm that we exist in, okay? It's not a law of physics. And if most people in the world think that Concord is ugly, that is objectively the truth. Now, if you think that Concord is not ugly, that is subjectively your opinion. And it's subjective because the most majority of people think that Concord is ugly. You can't even use these things in that sense. This is, and he's talking about this all so confidently. It's crazy.
Things in here that people did like, right? There were some people that are actually talking about the game and said that they thought it was cool. It's like a weird, weird art style, kind of weird environment sort of a thing.
Like who's talking about this game being cool? The 5 people that played it?
But like some people like that shit. At least some people played it. The biggest question that I have is how was this a surprise? Because they had a beta. They had an early access in July. How did they not know that this was failing that early? I guarantee that beta didn't have big numbers. Like this had 198 at peak, dude. They had less than 1,000 pre-orders. That's bad, dude. For everybody that's in chat that's like...
Less than, around 10,000, I remember the number.
Investors controlled the deadlines. Did that shit come to you in a dream? Are you just like spouting out nonsense?
Wait, what did he say?
Dude, they had less than 1,000 pre-orders. That's bad, dude. For everybody that's in chat that's like, investors controlled the deadlines. Did that shit come to you in a dream?
Yes. Yeah, investors do control the deadlines. That is absolutely fact, by the way. Dude, I can't remember what it was, but I did saw Pirate Software. I think maybe it was a short, maybe it was something. I saw him talk about that exclusivity is like the best thing for fucking a game company because this guy is supposed to be a game dev. Like his dad worked at Blizzard, by the way. His dad is the World of Warcraft Southpod guy, by the way. Did you not know that? Also, his dad calls him openly a fucking loser, by the way, which is probably the biggest win we have had. But this guy doesn't even understand basic... He's a developer. He should understand this. Investors do control deadlines. The investors are literally going to demand that you not release the game in a situation where it has a lot of competition or where it's not going to sell good. And they have the power to do so. They literally call the shots in a lot of cases. And this guy is just saying, oh, investors don't do it. Bro, what do you mean? How are you a developer? How do you just flat out claim, oh, investors, the people who give you money The people who make you able to do these things don't have any say in your shit? That is wild.
Dream? Are you just like spouting out nonsense that you're stating as fact? If you're gonna make a claim, post a link, show the evidence. Because nah, that's just
Post a
ridiculous.
link.
We're trying to figure out like what actually went wrong here, not just.
I mean, prove that investors don't have it. I mean, we're currently talking about investors literally pushing Ubisoft to do a buyback. And you're telling me investors have no pullback?
Just what came to you in a dream. But with this, we don't see anything that's gone wrong outside of their marketing. Their marketing didn't actually show up for anybody. The game was pretty much unheard of. The part that's interesting to me is the fact that they somehow were blindsided by this enough that they.
I'm not gonna get into the graph, but that graph actually, dude, this guy is literally Asmongold. There's fucking one graph, and from this graph you are extrapolating things that this graph does not show, does not prove, does not talk about. I'm not gonna. Should I get into this? The fact that the graph is this big in the first place means that something went wrong, and that is not marketing. And this, by the way, is going steadily down and down and down and down. As you can see, this is the peak here, and then the peak is like 50% almost less. Okay? This graph's existence and the way that it looks is proof in itself that, yeah, things did go bad, and it's not just marketing.
Actually show up for anybody. The game was pretty much unheard of. The part that's interesting to me is the fact that they somehow were blindsided by this enough that they went through with the launch despite running a beta, despite knowing about the pre-orders, despite knowing early on they had a beta in July. That's very strange because they didn't expect to fix anything like the first 1 to 2 months after launch. That doesn't make sense either. You're just wasting a huge amount of time. And to be honest with you, you're also getting a black eye in your entire studio by doing this. There's no benefit in that, especially from like a tax burden situation. Like you probably.
I don't understand what he even meant with those last sentences. That sounds like gibberish.
Just be able to, if you cancel the game before it even came out, you can get refunds in some cases, like tax liability stuff, because it is counted as research and development. Like that would make sense. Like some countries will even give you like pretty massive tax breaks for doing that. So I'm
not sure about the research and development pod, but yes, you can. Maybe it's something specific. He could actually maybe be right about this, but yeah, you can't actually do that. If you don't release the game at all, you can write it off as a loss. In general, you can write it off as a loss. You don't need to write it off as, like, research or development. I don't know about that one. But, you know, if your company loses money in a year, you don't have to pay taxes. That's how this shit works in general.
very surprised.
Well, you do have to pay taxes, but then you can do some other things, and because you made a loss, you no longer have to pay taxes on that stuff because you already lost money. And paying taxes on something that loses you money is one of the fastest ways to go out of business. And that's why, you know, things like that are there to prevent companies going out of business too fast.
That they brought this thing all the way to launch. There's a huge labor from a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game. Why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? I'm sure having fun playing it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Yeah, that's not great. That's immediately going to lead into negative reaction from the internet. So they worked on it for 8 years. Yeah, because you have to understand, working in
That's really ironic for him calling out someone else's behavior and saying that that's going to be bad.
games takes a long time. You may not like the outcome. You may not like the designs or things like that. Doesn't mean it didn't take a long time. The product that came out of this, like what was produced, is not something that people enjoyed. And that's really what it comes down to. This, though, this ends up going really badly. And like, that's unfortunate because to be real with you, I can understand being in a position as a developer being defensive, especially when people are shitting on the thing that you worked on for 8 years. I get it, but you can't say that. So the other thing that's really interesting is these character designs are very, I would say they're kind of like overly colorful, if that makes sense. So like the color clashes all over them kind of look like weird skins.
What do you mean, dude? Isn't that like just subjective opinion that, you know, shouldn't be brought up because it doesn't count?
The colors are clashing, and I think that's the problem. This kind of a thing is kind of neat. Weird character design. He's like some kind of a beast man. He's got some kind of like brainiac thing in his head. I'd like to know more about this, but also it's like, it's...
The footy wants to know more about the beast, dude. Well, shit. Ain't that poetic?
So overly colorful in the way that it's presented, where you have like a teal, a red, You have another like a blue in there, and then this like rainbow chrome that goes on. It's just too much. It's too much color. It makes it hard to define a character unless you have like kind of a couple of defined colors for them. But yeah, to be real with you, this game didn't do well. It's not a good look to have the dev or even a former dev talking like that to the general public. It's not helpful. I think it's really important to understand that when you're designing characters, color clashes like this can be really unappealing to people. Yeah, visual clarity is super important. Visual clarity is super important. Visual design is super important because we can compare this to like Zarya. Zarya has like pretty defined colors, and she also has a very colorful flair to
What
her.
is
But
Zarya?
the difference is that Zarya's colorful flair is in one spot. It's just her hair. You have a very defined character. You have very muted colors. The colors are all kind of matching across the entire thing, and you have one defined flare color. This
I mean, how would you otherwise know that she's lesbian?
There's defined flare colors all over the place. Yellow on what looks like a fuchsia on lime green. Those are not colors that work well together. So it ends up looking like a character custom spray, right? Like I colored my own character model sort of a thing. And then also you have the defined color flare here of the bright blue. So you have multiple flare colors.
The
and then
mods
you have,
were fed $5.
thanks to the 5 extra mods. And then you have colors that don't work well together in a composition. It's too much. It's too much. Too many different colors. And I think that ends up being a problem. We have the same thing on him. So we see the exact same problem here where you have like kind of a defined color of the red. And then you also have whatever this rainbow purple and then like more teal in this. It's just too many colors for it to be a character model that you can like that is.
Okay, I don't like the color discussion because it's kind of boring. Is this it, though? Let's actually check. Is there more?
Just like beige and bright lime green.
Oh my god, he's still talking about the colors. Jesus. By the way, the funny thing about these color palettes and shit that he's mentioning is, what was the Valve new thing called? Deadbolt or whatever. That kind of has a bunch of aesthetics that are kind of looking similar, but they're still good. So it's not about just the color aesthetics. It's about the fact that this just looks fucking horrible. It's not just the color palettes. Like, for example, this looks actually like a fine colored palette, but for some reason, I don't know about you, boy, but yeah, I'm literally hating it. Okay, so is that the whole video? Jesus. Like, why do people even watch him? This is bad. This is just bad.
People less good as game developers. It just means that this game that they worked on didn't work. And sometimes you may really believe in it. You may really like the thing you make, but the general public didn't. Whether it was about the game actually being flawed or about it not being the right time, hard to tell, right? It doesn't make those people less good as game developers. It just means that this game that they worked on didn't work. And there's a lot of games that exist like that, thousands of them. Usually you don't see games.
Wait, then how are we supposed to find the good game developers? Wait, what? So if you make shitty games, you're not a bad game developer. If you make good games, you're also not a good I'm just... No. How did this guy even really get famous? No, seriously.
Games of this high profile failing this spectacular. Usually these things die internally before they make it out to the public. And I think that
he has not been paying attention to the game industry if he thinks that games like this die internally before they make it out to the public. Is he just romanticizing game development in general? It kind of almost seems like it, that they can do anything wrong, everything's smart, everything's blah, blah, blah. Almost seems like it. Sad.
For me is the most interesting part of this, is that this made it out to the public and then died. Do you think it could be salvaged and free to play? If they made it free to play, I think what you would get is you get a lot more...
Oh, people talked about this, but nah. In any case, yeah, that's PirateSoftware. What the fuck is his appeal to people? I don't know. I don't know. I want to find... I think it was a short. I think I watched his short where he said, oh, exclusivity is great because it's just free money or some shit like that, which is the dumbest statement ever, because if exclusivity for gaming was so good, then everyone would do it. But no one does it, and people talk poorly about it, even those who take it. That's whatever. Anyway, I just... What's wrong with people for liking this guy? Like, how do you do this? Anyway, that was PirateSoftware. 10 out of 10.